Good morning in the US. Very early in the morning, we have Matthew Murdoch from the company Raven that is also represented in Spain at the region of Aragon in Zaragoza. We have Mrs. Carmen Font. Hello, Mrs. Font.
Good morning.
So also here in Dubai is afternoon. So it's 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And we have our colleagues that are attending this meeting from Constanța, but also from Bulgaria. And we have also from the other countries that are represented in this Black Sea Universities network. We are also waiting for some of the speakers to connect probably during the program. We are in contact with Her Excellency Madam Nicoleta Teodorovic. She is the Consul General of Romania in Dubai. We have also some other speakers that will join us. The region of Constanța will be represented by Mr. Petre Stelia, by Mr. Petre Enciu, the Vice President of the County Council of Constanța. So just in order to stick with the allocated time, we would like to start by expressing our gratitude to the team of the Romanian Pavilion here at the Expo 2020. It is a unique opportunity to be, let's say, in the forefront of the media and of the attention of the entire world here with a spot, with a focus on Dubai, and to discuss about the way in which we can do a little bit better for the world. So I would like to, as I said, I propose to start, although, as I said, we are waiting for some other speakers to join. And in that perspective, I would like to start by sharing an introductory presentation. So this week, the week of 16 to 22 of January, is the week that the organizers of Expo 2020 here in Dubai dedicated to the global goals. And within this generic of global goals, of course, there are different activities that have been planned and prepared by different countries, by different organizations, and there is a very busy program of events here in Expo 2020. And within this week, we also decided to have a mission here in Expo 2020. We have started on Monday with a conference on education for sustainable development. We had also some meetings, discussions. We have also our booth that is hosted by the Romanian Pavilion. And yesterday we had another conference dedicated to innovation for sustainable development, the involvement of entrepreneurship and the partnership between universities and the entrepreneurs for the, let's say, for addressing the United Nations agenda and actually the global agenda for sustainable development. In this context, this event is much more dedicated. Just one second, please. Domnul Horneț, vă așteptăm să vă logați. Ei, nu aveți link, uitați-vă pe ăsta, adică vă mai trimit o dată, Laura. Bine. Deci zice că n-are link, mai trimite el o dată. So one of the speakers is also joining now. Sorry. So this meeting today, once again, I would like to thank to Mrs. Font because we initiated together this meeting. It's started somewhere in Brussels from a discussion, and after that we continued to start planning this activity. So probably it is now the time to explain to all attendees that 1 year ago we have initiated a partnership that was addressing the call of the European Commission for building up partnerships between European regions for post-COVID actions, particularly for strengthening the resilience of the European regions in decarbonizing different types of value chains based on hydrogen technologies. And starting from this project, we have developed a very nice, let's say, I could say even group of friends representing different regions, starting from Spain to Netherlands to Slovakia, Italy, and to Romania. And in this context, as I was saying, we are now under the, let's say, the activities of this partnership. We had a very nice support on behalf of some consultancy groups. I'm talking about Enable and ERIG. So they have been selected by the European Commission to support this process of building this partnership between the EU regions. And at present, there are different projects that have been identified, and there are different, let's say, funding opportunities that are explored. And what is extremely important is that there are extremely, let's say, straightforward and effective type of outcomes of this partnership. So in this context, I would like to just jump into this presentation. It is about a region that is located in southeast part of Romania, is the region, the county of Constanța. The county of Constanța, of course, as all the other regions of Europe, there is a fundamental and a very important concern regarding the aspects related to sustainable development goals. And there are different action plans that are dedicated, planned or even implemented for addressing the implementation of SDGs. Among the players, among the organizations of this region, the MedGreen cluster is one of the, let's say, organizations that have developed many projects that are addressing the area of eco-technologies, of renewable energy sources, sustainability, and there are several SDGs that are, let's say, under the frame and under the interest of this innovation cluster. So the region of Constanța is extremely important, not only for Romania, but also for the entire Europe, because as you can see from this map, the Constanța as a port and as a hub for the transport lines that are crossing from north to south or from east to west, you can identify a very important area, a very important geography that is both on the EU side, covering the southeast part of Europe, but also the area of eastern neighborhood of Europe, and also connectivities with, let's say, Central Asia, Middle East, and Far East. So from this perspective, we could say that the jewel, let's say, of Constanța is this Constanța port, brilliant, let's say, achievement of the Romanian nation. It has been developed in almost 100 years, almost a century of, let's say, persuasive and consistent planning and strategies for development of such facility. It is a port that is built in the sea, and we don't have there an estuary or a gulf that helped, let's say, the extension of such an infrastructure. So it was a full infrastructure covered from the sea, and the location of Constanța being connected to the Danube is also extremely important for Europe. You can see here that for let's say reference point that is the exit of the Suez Canal, there are almost 2,500 nautical miles difference for the vessels, which means a huge quantity of fuels that have to be burned in order to transport, let's say, the goods towards Western ports. And this means a huge impact on the environment, the greenhouse gases, and so on. So the Constanța port has a very important position for the future developments and value chains of the let's say coming plans for Europe. And here there are some of the achievements dedicated to greening the port of Constanța, dedicated to the better connectivity, and many other competitive advantages. In this context, of course, in Constanța, there are different type of activities that have been initiated in the field of hydrogen and hydrogen technologies. The Constanța is the region of Romania that is represented in this, let's say, partnership of cities and regions of Europe, that was, let's say, initiated by the FCHJU, the Fuel Cell and Hydrogen Joint Undertaking. And in this partnership, there are, of course, many activities that are under development. You can see here some of the projects that have been or are in the process of implementation. The project Portis that is dedicated to the promotion and development of sustainable mobility. There is a project that started very how can I say, it started recently, but at present there are a lot of expectation on it. Is about pioneers that is coordinated by the Port of Anvers, and is going to evaluate the possibilities of integrating the ports into the hydrogen value chains. There is this healing project that is a flagship action. Then there are also projects for sustainable mobility and of course for market deployment and decarbonization, as I mentioned. So the vision for future promotion of hydrogen in Constanța is not only, as I mentioned, for Romania. We are talking about Constanța as part of this vision for Danube Green Corridor as a backbone, as an axle for future development of Europe that is going to be the, let's say, ground or the background on which there will be developed, let's say, future projects, value chains, industries, circular economy loops, and many other activities connected to this. In this respect, in our region, we have initiated a living laboratory. It's called Dobrogea Blue Bay, and this is centered on the Danube Black Sea Canal that is, let's say, by nature, a dedicated area for developing a multi-level strategy for implementing innovation actions dedicated to a holistic approach for water, for energy, sustainable energy, for transport, and hydrogen-based regional development. So you will see immediately also other presentations, and there will be also discussions around this. But we consider that this can be a platform that could prepare the future evolution into this direction. There are many tentative projects that we are thinking too regarding the technologies based on hydrogen. Of course, we look for the development of hydrogen infrastructure based on refilling stations. We have initiated discussions with the largest refinery in Romania that is located in our region. We are talking about different other types of refilling stations based on autonomous, let's say, type of electrolyzer based on renewable energy. Bus lines for transport connecting the port of Constanța and the touristic neighborhoods, but also district heating plant integrating different, let's say, renewable energy technologies, a science park dedicated for the entertainment, but also for promoting the hydrogen vehicles and technologies. And of course, because the region of Constanța is a region where we have a very high potential of renewable energy sources, we are considering that this has to be the place for an overarching project integrating hydrogen storage, wind, and other intermittent energy sources. Besides of that, you will see immediately we shall have also presentation of Mr. Hornets dedicated to the promotion of waste to hydrogen and waste to sustainable energy technologies that we consider that are also part of this vision. In conclusion, we would like to point out on the fact that this part of Europe, the, let's say, eastern border, the southeast eastern border of Europe, the largest hub to the Black Sea, can be a very important node for the future of hydrogen in Europe. So with your permission, I shall stop here. Now, for all attendees, I would like to mention that we have two panes. It is a question and answer pane where you can let's say, put your questions and your comments, and based on that, we could then, let's say, react to all these questions. Then Then we have the possibility of having chat. And then we have the chat where you could also present your views and comments, but also what we are doing now, because Joel Delistel, he entered the group of attendees, we shall move him to the panelist and we shall offer him the microphone when we shall have the opportunity. So for all these, if there are questions, as I mentioned, please interact with us. Matthew, I know that it's very early in the morning and you are in such a situation. So once again, you are joining this from the United States, and we would like to thank you for all your efforts. I would like to kindly ask you to allow us to make also the other presentation on behalf of Mr. Hornets, the Eco Hornets company in Romania, just to have on one side the presentations on the Romanian side, and then together with Mrs. Font and you will make the presentation on the, let's say, Spanish or Spanish-American side. Is that okay with you?
Certainly. Thank you very much for the privilege. I'm excited to see the presentation.
Yes. So now we shall move forward with the presentation of Mr. Hornets, but I shall ask Joel to share the screen and to put on the screen the presentation, and Mr. Hornets is going to present it, but of course I shall translate. Mr. Hornets, he prepared a long presentation, dar domnul Hornets, o să vă rog ca peste primele slide-uri să trecem mai repede ca să nu lungim foarte mult. Sunt niște probleme oarecum importante, nu, sunt probleme fundamental importante, dar să ajungem mai mult către tehnologie și aspectele esențiale, să zicem.
Da, bună ziua tuturor. Îmi cer iertare că am intrat mai târziu, că am fost într-o altă emisiune. Deja sunt tot la studiourile de CNews România, pentru că am avut o emisiune anterioară. Sunt în deplasare, cum s-ar spune. Eu cred că am găsit soluția care poate face o planetă mai curată.
So Mr. Hornets, he is an entrepreneur, but before that he's an inventor. He spent most of his time in developing, engineering, and inventing new type of devices, systems. So, of course, he was involved in the defense industry, and some of his patents are in this field. But after that, he started business by himself, and together with his brother, he initiated the activities dedicated to sustainable solutions. And at present, after working so many years, he considers that he arrived to a mix of proper solutions for solving a very important problem of humanity, which means neutralization of waste. Vă rog.
După 5 ani de muncă dedicați acestei sisteme de transformare, de tratare a deșeurilor, am reușit să creez o instalație care poate să proceseze aproape tot ce este deșeu astăzi pe care îl producem noi sau industria sau chiar industria fosilă.
So Mr. Hornets, in the last 5 years, he developed a technology of processing the waste, and he considers that within these 5 years, he succeeded to obtain optimal solutions for different possible applications.
Într-un cuvânt, o instalație care, odată ce ai pornit-o, intră pe profit, să spun așa, este profitabilă, și are calitățile pe care le poate avea un echipament cu reglaje multiple, cu combustibil multiplu, toate oportunitățile și se poate încadra la cererea tuturor să le rezolve problema acestor deșeuri universale.
Most of the work that has been developed in these years have been, of course, to develop an equipment that could be operated in very safe and in continuous mode without any kind of problems in operation. At the same time, to be profitable, so to have minimal costs of operation, and from the moment when it starts to operate, making profit. Besides of that, of course, there are aspects that are about flexibility to different type of fuels and substrates to be able to shift from different compositions of biomass wastes.
Poate asigura un acces neîngrădit la un mediu curat, la sănătate, la energie, la o hrană curată.
So the equipment can offer different types of outcomes. One of them is, of course, the reduction of pollution, particularly, let's say, the air pollutants could be neutralized, but at the same time, the results could have a very good impact on agriculture and food value chains. Să mai mutăm din slide-uri?
Puteți să dați, da. Eu acum vorbesc și fără slide-uri și încă unul puteți să dați.
The next one.
În mod normal, avantajele pleacă de la prima tehnologie, cea de ardere la temperaturi foarte înalte, arzătorul cu peleți eco-hornets, care încadrat în acest un nou brevet, da? Este cel care ne asigură o gamă largă de temperaturi și un reglaj perfect pe orice tip de deșeu. Asta este un mare avantaj, să descompun din deșeurile pe care le procesez pe diferite temperaturi, cantități diferite de produse, gaz, ulei, biochar sau negru de fum sau alte produse.
So it is extremely important to mention that the core technology or the key technology of this pyrolysis equipment is an in-house, let's say, process of combustion of biomass using pelletized, let's say, substrate that could work at very high temperature, and having the advantage of operating at very high temperature, then there are many advantages regarding also the way in which the equipment could be, let's say, shaped and could be used in different applications. Next slide.
Posibilitatea folosirii simultane a biomasei peletizate în acest arzător împreună cu gaz de piroliză sau gaz de piroliză și ulei de piroliză și peleți, această coincinerare rezultă o ardere ecologică, pentru că temperatura ridicată a peleților sprijină și ceilalți doi combustibili, care sunt de fapt biocombustibili, și încadrăm această ardere în normele de poluare și sub normele de poluare europene.
So taking the advantage of working at high temperature, then there are different other possibilities to operate this installation, either in, let's say, maximizing the gas fractions or maximizing the liquid fractions. And in this way, to have the possibility of shifting from different operating points. Next slide, please.
Toate echipamentele folosite astăzi pe biomasă peletizată pot funcționa și cu ceilalți combustibili, adică cu gaz și ulei, atât la încălzire, la preparare de fluxuri termice pentru industrie, adică are utilitate directă în producerea de energie termică și electrică.
So this pyrolysis equipment is offering the possibility to conceive new type of, let's say, sustainable energy bio value chains, where, of course, on one side, you are using the waste that might be a biomass or might be different other fractions, and you are neutralizing this waste. And on the other side, you are very flexible to use the solid, liquid, or gaseous fraction that are the outcomes of the pyrolysis process for developing further different sustainable energy solutions.
Rapoartele de omologare confirmă eficiența, confirmă partea de emisii ale acestor echipamente și să mă refer la piroliză, este foarte important că putem regla temperatura între 150 și 900 de grade Celsius, adică putem pleca de la uscare, torefiere, termoliză, piroliză, până la gazeificarea parțială într-un singur reactor.
So the possibility of operating at very high temperature is offering you also flexibility to move where the process is asking you. So you can develop, let's say, the conditions, the parameters for low temperature pyrolysis, and you can decrease the temperature in the range of 150 to 450 degrees. You can move towards a medium type of pyrolysis where you can raise up the fraction of the gaseous fractions. And in this way, you can operate between 450 and 650 degrees. And then you can raise up the temperature up to 900, and in this way you can have a very high fraction of gas processes. Next slide, please.
Aveam tabelul și aș ruga să dați înapoi slide-ul, pentru că e o demonstrație. Nu, tabelul din anterior.
It was
Înapoi.
Yeah.
Și încă o dată. Aici, da, mersi. Avem aici, de exemplu, între 150 și 450 de grade biochar, 35%. Dacă ne referim la biomasa agricolă, putem merge până la 80% biochar. Deci este un tabel orientativ pe toate probele pe care le-am făcut. Am făcut o medie. Sunt, spre exemplu, după 650 de grade, avem gaz de piroliză preponderent și de aici rezultă hidrogen. Analizele noastre ne spun că între 14 și 16% din deșeurile agricole este conținut de hidrogen.
So in this table, we have to say that there is also another dimension. We could consider a dimension which is the depth of this table, where you can act by changing the composition of the substrate. For instance, if you increase the vegetable and agriculture type of substrate, you can obtain at low temperature pyrolysis, 150 to 450 degrees, you can increase the fraction of biochar. So you can have even sometimes you can go up to 80% biochar in specific conditions if you have appropriate substrate for that. So this table has to be considered just orientative. it may change as fractions depending on the type of or composition of the substrate that you use for pyrolysis. Next slide.
Conform ultimelor norme europene, elaborate în urmă cu o lună, cu intrare în funcțiune în 6 iunie, cred, 2022, biocearul devine principalul fertilizator al solului european, iar acesta trebuie tratat minim sau peste 180 de grade. De aia spun că la această temperatură, cantitatea de biocear din deșeurile agricole, spre exemplu, se duce la 800 de kilograme per tonă, deci 80%.
So it is also important to mention that the decision and the directive of the European Commission for supporting biochar is a very important, let's say, pathway for rehabilitation of the soils and sustainable agriculture is also an aspect that has to be mentioned, because this creates a very important opportunity and at the same time a very important challenge for the manufacturers. Next slide, please.
Da, echipamentele au o mobilitate foarte bună. Avem posibilitatea să le ducem acolo unde avem deșeu și nu trebuie să cărăm noi la ele acest deșeu. Toate deșeurile pot fi și le enumărăm sau le citiți dumneavoastră, domnule profesor, ca să nu le mai repet și eu încă o dată.
I don't think that we should read all of them. It's clear because here we are talking in the front of a community of people that are literate in pyrolysis, and at the same time they know what we are talking about. So these tests have been done with different type of wastes that you can see here, from sludge, sewage sludge to plastic, rubber, and different other type of industrial or municipal type of waste. Next slide.
Produsele principale sunt, deci, gazul de piroliză, uleiul de piroliză, din vegetale biocearul sau alte produse care sunt neutre biologic. Și aici avem negru de fum din cauciuc, avem coxul care nu mai este poluant, deci îl putem folosi în orice alt proces industrial.
So in principle, you know all that we have the gas fraction, the liquid fraction, and the solid fraction that could be biochar, or in different other conditions, you can have also different other types of carbon, like black carbon, or it might be also some other types of products that generally are neutral from a biological point of view. Next slide.
Calitatea acestor produse este diferită în raport de compoziția chimică a fiecărui produs pe care îl procesăm, de temperatura la care îl supunem în descompunere, de analiza chimică a acestui produs, de compoziția chimică a fiecărui produs, dar el poate fi reglat pentru că avem această marjă de reglare a temperaturii, a vitezei de tranzitare și a umidității. Toate compun valoarea sau calitatea, putem să ducem la cea mai înaltă calitate produsele obținute.
So you can see here that now the pyrolysis units have to be integrated according to the type of application that we are targeting. So if we have, let's say, applications where we are targeting energy, sustainable energy aspects, of course, we have to match the outcomes from the pyrolysis system with the requirements for the energy systems. At the same time, if let's say, focus would be particular the thermal energy aspects, the same, it should be an appropriate match between the outcomes of the pyrolysis, operation parameters of the pyrolysis equipment, and the integration with the energy system. So, hai să ajungem la concluzii, domnul Cornet.
În concluzie, pot să vă spun că este o instalație foarte calitativă. Este o instalație care are o mobilitate foarte bună și o putem folosi acolo unde avem nevoie. Este o instalație care poate fi modificată pe partea inițială pentru fiecare produs pe care vreau să-l procesez. Și calitatea cea mai bună a acestei instalații este că tocate la 1 centimetru și cu temperatură și cu umiditate sub 10 primește orice fel de material în descompunere.
So I wanted to keep on the display the layout of the unit that is manufactured by Mr. Hornets, mentioning that this layout has been tested for the types of applications that have been mentioned. And of course, we want to present these aspects just for starting the matching of the possible collaboration between, let's say, the approach that is followed here in Romania with the technologies that have been presented, with the possible collaboration with our colleagues from Spain, and particularly, let's say, the possibilities of building a bridge across Europe, and of course, from one side, to take advantage, to collaborate together, and to participate together in projects not only in Europe, but worldwide. So thank you very much, Mr. Hornets. I will kindly ask Joel to stop sharing now. And from now on, once again, I would like to remind to all colleagues here in this meeting that we have the chat possibility, we have the Q&A option for interacting. And I would like also to welcome some of the distinguished speakers that join us meanwhile. So Mr. Javier Navarro, welcome in this meeting, and we would like to thank you for the opportunity of being with us. Of course, if you look also on the group of attendees, we have also very important, let's say, colleagues that are joining us from Romania, but not only. For instance, we have Stavros Kaloknomos. He's joining us from Brussels. He is from the Conference of Peripheral Maritime Regions. And he is focusing particularly on the Balkan regions. So for all of those who are on the attendees group, if you would like to raise your voice, just let us know and we shall move you into the panelist and open the microphone. Now, Carmen, you can see that we raised, let's say, the issue. And together with Mr. Murdoch, maybe you could now establish the order of the presentations from your side.
Thank you very much, Professor Erdem Mahmoud. It's a pleasure to join, and I'm delighted, and it's an honor, in fact. So we are, as I said, very excited about the possibility of cooperation with Romania and other cross-regional partnerships within the consortium and beyond that. And I think let's start with Mr. Navarro, who is the General Director of the department at the Government of Aragon, in fact, that is leading all the hydrogen initiatives within the government. Mr. Navarro is the General Director of Industry, Competitiveness and SMEs, which is in fact key for cooperation. Government support, allowing partnerships and supporting implementation of investments. So please, Mr. Navarro, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Carmen. Greetings to Professor Mahmoud. For me, is very nice to be with you. Thank you very much for having thought of the government of Aragon for this interesting presentation. The energy transition is a joint effort that requires the cooperation of different regions and countries. The exchange of experiences that we are carrying out today is being very interesting. Please excuse me for not being able to stay until the end of the table, but it's impossible for me. I hope I could exchange my presentation easily. I hope not to have troubles with it.
Yes, would you like to share the screen now?
Yes.
You have a button there down. It is
Yes,
green. Share.
I have it, but I have to open it. I don't know.
Yeah, meanwhile, we would like to thank you. We were expecting you here in Dubai. Actually, the pavilion of Spain is just across the alley of here of Romanian pavilion. And there were also different other activities that our colleagues here in the Romanian pavilion, they developed together with the Spanish pavilion. And we were expecting actually to have this event between these two pavilions. So to have in one day in Spain and the other one in the Romanian one. So we shall do it in a later phase.
Could be very nice to be with you in Dubai.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now we see it is very nice. Thank you.
Now the hydrogen technologies in Spain are in a real explosion. Do you see the slide?
It's very clear. Thank you.
You see, okay. Then the first thing I have to, I have one trouble. Why the hydrogen in Aragon? The hydrogen in Aragon is one of our bets. In 1986, we had in Aragon the first wind farm installed near Zaragoza. Zaragoza is the big city, the capital, the center of Aragon. Today, we have 4,000 megawatts today in the same place that we built that wind farm. In 2003, we were living a great moment, and we were thinking how to get synergies with our industrial and several of our potentials. We decided to use the new hydrogen technologies to take advantage of the renewable energy potential, to take advantage of the region strategic situation. I will explain you in a few minutes. We have a consolidated industry with sector that could apply and develop new products. I have to tell you that Aragon is 144% more industrial than the average of Spain. And we have the existence of a high level of involvement in research groups. Many of the research groups in Aragon, they had a big experience in pure science, like chemicals and physics, and we had a big experience in energy. Aragon always was a very important producer of energy for all Spain. Then that year in March in 2003, we organized one workshop jointly Government of Aragon, research and development, and industrial and private sectors. The objective to learn and to discuss about the hydrogen as energy vector, and if could be possible, if that could be feasible, to promote one strategy to develop hydrogen technologies in Aragon. Then we had one decision. The decision was to create a non-profit and private foundation for the development of new hydrogen technologies in Aragon. I was telling you about the geostrategical position of Aragon. Aragon, in 300 kilometers, has the 80% of the Spanish GDP and 25 million people connected by highways, all of them. 6 international ports, 3 Mediterranean and 3 Atlantic. Is the only city, Zaragoza, that can comply with that characteristics. In Europe, you cannot find any other place. By rail, we have connection between Cantabrian and Mediterranean Sea. We have 5 international airports within 300 kilometers. At this moment, Zaragoza is the second freight airport and with the highest growth in Spain. Is growing every day. And we have, the name is Plaza, the largest logistics platforms in Southern Europe. And in energy is important because the same that we are one nucleus of communication, we are one half of energy infrastructures. We have electricity, gas pipelines, oleoducts, and strategic storages in our region. We have the existence of old depleted gas fields, underground storage, and presence of saline domes. All that is propitious for the development of the new technologies of hydrogen. I can tell you a little bit more. We are in the border with France to the north, because that's important if we want one cooperation between countries. We need to collaborate France with Spain. We need to do it in Aragon. The surface area of Aragon is the 10% of all Spain. We are bigger than Holland, for example, but we have a low population density, only 1.3 million inhabitants. We are the 10% in surface area, and we are the 3% in population. That means that we have a lot of territory able for renewable deployments. And we have a lot of winds. We are in Ebro Valley, one of the wind tunnels, a real wind tunnels in Europe, and we have a lot of solar irradiation. Our industry is based in automotive, energy, machinery, and chemical. All them are very related with the hydrogen technologies. The logistics, you know very well that in heavy transport, the hydrogen is a very good solution. And we have any other sectors like agribusiness or tourism that important too. I am not going to tell nothing more about this slide. Other important component of our strong capabilities. We have important institutions in research and development. I told you all them were working in hydrogen during decades. I am speaking now about 2003, no talking about this moment. The University of Zaragoza was very specialized in science, in chemistry, physics, with 2,000 students, and we have one important and prestigious school of engineers in engineering and architecture with 8 bachelors of science and 12 masters. All the studies about renewable energetic technologies and hydrogen are completely into our programs. 15 years ago, we started to work in the vocational training system, and we were promoting. We were the promoters of the first European program in vocational training system for hydrogen. Then with that foundation that we were thinking to create, we were thinking to promote the use of hydrogen as an energy vector, but more of it like one industrial tractor in order to get economic development in our region and in high-level technologies. One important thing that we wanted to get from the first moment of the foundation, the work of the activities of the foundation should be market-oriented. We said at that moment, it has not to be with white dresses. We need blue dresses in the foundation. And now we are more than 80 members. You probably do not know many of these anagrams, of these signals, but here we have probably the most important companies in, not only in Spain, many of them in Europe. Now we are more than 80 members, but we have many other members are expecting to enter. In fact, I think that in a very few months, we will be 100 members. Very fast, I will pass about the activities of the foundation. The foundation works very much in collaboration and partnerships. Has experience in European projects because our projection was more in Europe than in Spain. In Spain, the hydrogen development was very slow. And in Europe, some countries were more advanced than us. Then we have worked in more than 200 projects. We have experience, we have skills in hydrogen production, in transport, distribution, storage. In all them, we have real experience in real jobs. In application, you can see the diversity of applications in cross-cutting and in environment too. The foundation of hydrogen in Aragon is the only Spanish entity, and there are two in all Europe, that is working in the 3 official hydrogen valleys that there are in Europe. In the world, there are 32 hydrogen valleys, but they have the stamp of the fuel cell and hydrogen joint undertaking, the official stamp of the European Union, are Big Hit in the Orkney Islands, Heaven in Netherlands, and Green Islands in Mallorca. And the foundation is working in all them. That's the region because Aragon is one of the 4 leaders of the European Hydrogen Valleys Partnership. We are working in the S3, the Smart Specialization Platform, and we are in the European Clean Hydrogen Alliance. Our vice president of the government is the only Spanish person in the board of the European Clean Hydrogen Alliance. 2 years ago, we had the conscience that we have production and we could have applications for the hydrogen. And we were analyzing the opportunities and the characteristics of our industrial sectors, not only for the production, not only for the consumption, to work in the value chain and in the transportation and in all the elements that contribute to the hydrogen technologies. In this other slide, you can see some of the characteristics of our industrial tissue. Then that was 2 years ago, and less than 1 year ago, the foundation took the decision to invite to many of the industrial and energetic agents in Spain, but mainly in Aragon, and that area that is 300 kilometers around. I told you that is the 80% of the Spanish GDP. And we started to build one initiative. The initiative is, the name is Get Hydra. That means that we want to get high gas in production in electrolysis and production of hydrogen with 5 big objectives. The first one is energy. You can see it's the biggest, 49 projects with one budget of more than 2,200 million of euros. The second, reindustrialization and industrial transition. I can tell you that it mainly we want to work in the value chain of hydrogen in the electrolyzers, in the compressors, in the different materials and components that we need for the hydrogen. We want to boost the research and development. Is strong in Aragon, but we want to use these projects to reinforce this system. We give many importance to the training and education. If we have not professionals qualified to these technologies, then we are building in a non-realistic situation. And we want to work to establish regional policies and support, not only for Aragon. We want, and we are doing it now, to work with other European and Spanish regions. That could be the way to get a grid of collaboration and partnerships to afford more important projects. If you can see, we have, I think, more or less 76 projects, and there are another more projects. Project is one gas pipeline of hydrogen that is in the European backbone, is European hydrogen backbone, is the transport pipelines of hydrogen strategy that now we have in Europe. One of that pipelines is crossing Aragon just by the middle, parallel to Ebro River, that pass from Zaragoza and can collect all the renewable, all the green hydrogen of all the wind and solar farms of all Aragon. The total amount of this initiative is more than 3,000 million euros. Excuse me, I have to tell you something very, very, very important. Our planification is in 15 years, and we don't want to work only with the next generation funds. We want to reach to get funds from Europe, from all places that we can get money, because we need to support these projects are not profitable by themselves at this moment, but we think that we can help them very much, because the scale economies are starting to appear. And finally, the more important thing of anything, before I show you one slide similar to this one, I could even go there. Excuse me, I go quickly. You can see this. This is the composition of the foundation, but these companies are not the same of this. Many of the first company are partners, are shareholders of the Hydrogen Foundation, but here they are less than the 50% of the companies with name, concrete companies that are in disposition to work, and they have signed one intentions letter to work in this important initiative. And this picture, this slide, show you the dependencies of the foundation, and this is our experience. We are growing very much in this moment, and we are in a very good position to do this transition where the hydrogen is so important. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Navarro. Actually, I have to say obrigado. So thank you for this very nice presentation. It is a very, how can I say, fresh breed that is showing that actually the hydrogen technologies and the hydrogen economy has a very clear future based on this kind of approach. I would like to confess that during this week, being here in Dubai, and being amazed by the fantastic infrastructure, buildings, and everything that these people succeeded to have here, it is a kind of, how can I say, hope for the future of hydrogen. Now, before moving forward, I would like to welcome Her Excellency Madam Nicoleta Teodorovici, the Consul General of Romania in Dubai. And if Mr. Navarro will stop sharing now, then we shall have, we shall invite Mrs. Teodorovici to say a few words. Can you open the microphone? No.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you very well. Yes, very well. Yeah, we hear very well.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be part of this very interesting conference. I just exited a meeting with the diplomatic corps from here from UAE. Looking to hydrogen, the new perspective here in UAE, we could see that in the last November, last year, 2021, His Excellency, the Minister of Energy, Mr. Al-Masroui, announced that has starting in UAE the building of the first hydrogen plant, green hydrogen, in the Middle East. So once again, we are thinking that all the innovation will be very interesting for the government of United Arab Emirates in matters of hydrogen and the future of the fuel, hydrogen fuel, and they aims to capture 25% of the global hydrogen fuel market by 2030. So I'm confident that all the innovation and all the project interesting in these matters could be discussed with the local authorities and governments, and we could very fruitful perspective to collaborate with the United Arab Emirates. They also announced that they have 7 huge and strategic projects in matters of hydrogen plant with Japan, Korea, South Korea, Germany, and India. But why not the Europe, the countries from Europe could be partners in this strategic project for Middle East. So I'm confident that, the budget is around 600 billion dirham, is like 165 billion US dollars. So they have a huge amount for this strategic project. So I welcome you for presenting your project to the government of United Arab Emirates, and feel free to stay in contact with the Consulate General of Romania in Dubai. We are committed to support you and present all your projects. So we could share the contact, and for the next steps, we already have an agenda, and trust us and feel free to share with us any kind of project. Thank you so much.
Also for your time. I know that you have a very tight schedule with different meetings running from one corner of Dubai to another place. So thank you very much for accepting also to connect. Actually, the initial plan was actually to participate here at the Romanian pavilion to this event, but we know very well what happened. So the main idea is the following. Yeah. So here we have a very nice type of European possible approach for promoting this kind of projects. So we have the region of Aragon, where you have seen there is a fantastic experience and a lot of dedication for promoting these technologies, many achievements. We have also the region southeast in Romania, particularly the Constanța region, where we have also experience in processing hydrogen. We have the largest refinery that is located in Southeast Europe. We have also the port of Constanța and so on. We are planning to have this bridge between these two regions, not only as Mr. Navarro was presenting, not only addressing the Europe, but also other markets. And of course, Middle East is a very important element in all this scheme, because we are interested in identifying, first of all, renewable hydrogen opportunities. This is the first element. We have solar energy here that can be converted to hydrogen very easy. And on the other side, we have also funding opportunities that and also ways of managing innovative and business acceleration and business development, let's say, knowledge and experience. And this is fantastic. So from all this perspective, we already have an agreement together. We are preparing already the project fiche for you for the next week, and also in the beginning of March to have a participation to this forum of investors that you are organizing here in Dubai. Once again, thank you very much for all this.
Most welcome. We are here for you. Thank you.
So, Mrs. Font, sorry for a little bit hijacking your list of presentation. Now, please, you take the control of the list of presenters.
Thank you so much, Erdem. It's a pleasure. Indeed, the most important thing is the participation of as many as possible key leaders and delegates. So delighted. I think Mr. Navarro has to leave, so I thank him for being able to highlight the main activities that the government of Aragon is involved in right now and the vision. I'll be very grateful to also thank very much Her Excellency, the Consul General that just joined, the obviously president of the Med Green, Mr. Hornet, and yourself, Erdem, again, for putting this together. So I'll be giving a brief overview, in fact, of, I'm sharing my screen now. I think I'm having trouble, I'm afraid, Erdem, to... I don't know if
Carmen, you have to open the application. You have to open the application. So you have to open this presentation. And then you put it in a presenter mode. Button down there on the left side. No, not there. There is a the presentation mode. You can put Control F5 also. Yeah. So so it looks like your file is a PDF file. So you have to go to View, and there you have the presenter mode. So in the PDF application,
Sí, Carmen, quizás contrólele o... Now we are watching your, yeah, right now.
That's perfect. Thank you. Now the microphone is closed, Carmen, so that's it. Yeah. You have it if you put the mouse on the screen there. Laur, nu poți să deschizi microfonul. Yeah, there. The red, left, red microphone. No, we cannot hear you, Carmen. So it's something there. Yeah, you have to push that one. You're right. Hmm? De ce anume putea să fie? Yeah, maybe. Pardon?
I was reading what she asked.
Yeah.
She has a link. She set up the
Yeah.
microphone is not recorded.
Yeah, it looks like your microphone is hidden there. You cannot open it. But maybe meanwhile, maybe Matthew, you could start the presentation and we shall see how Carmen is going to solve.
I can try. Probably would need Carmen to stop sharing for me to share my screen real quick. There we go. Some computers can't live with them, can't live without them.
Yeah,
Like,
sorry. Now my micro works, so it has to be when I'm sharing the screen. I don't know why I cannot control the micro. So Erdem, I think the easiest thing would be that you share my presentation if you can, so I won't have trouble if you agree. So please go ahead, Matthew. Sorry about that.
yeah, no problem. So I'd like to begin also just echoing the remarks of Carmen and thanking you for hosting this. I think this is an amazing opportunity. Very excited about what's going on, and your presentation, Professor of Romania, and also Mr. Navarro's presentation of Aragon is extraordinary. Speaking as an American, it is great to see such great organization around the hydrogen economy. So I applaud you. So I'll be brief. And obviously open for questions if people would like to ask them later on. But my name is Matt Murdoch. I'm the CEO and founder of Raven SR. Raven began several years ago under a technology under the name of Intelligy. So the technology has actually been commercialized for about 20 years. But as we moved into the renewable energy awareness and climate awareness, we've actually gained a lot more footing and strength. So just real briefly, I think we recognize waste is a massive problem, both in Europe and America. The amount of waste going into our landfills, the amount of waste going into our oceans and rivers, significant problems. And we see air pollutions, emissions. At the same time, we're seeing some very large markets that can be addressed, both aviation fuel, the hydrogen economy, solid waste handling. These are areas that are growing, and sadly, and we at the same time, from a perspective of a market, it's a great opportunity where you can marry both of them. So briefly, I don't want to spend too much time on this because I'd like to focus more on others, but Raven SR has 12 patents, and we're currently increasing the number of our patents. One of the things that we like to point out is that we are truly a non-combustion technology. We do not use any air or oxygen in the process. It's been ruled by the California EPA as a non-incineration project. That means that we avoid a lot of emissions and pollutants that are typical of anything involving combustion. Sorry, I just want to make sure I get my clock started. So just real briefly, we begin with the waste on the left side. We can either take solid waste or gaseous waste. One of the things that's very unique about Raven SR is we process the waste wet, and we can take mixed waste. So we can take plastics and biogenics, the banana peel and the plastic bottle, at the same time, along with landfill gas or natural gas. If it's solids, we like to shred it and put it into our first stage reformer, where it is gasified, if you will. But again, there is no combustion in this process, so there's no flame, there's no oxygen, which removes a lot of the pollutants, as I mentioned. In about 40 minutes, we process the solids into a gas, what we call a raw syngas. About 20% of the by dry weight drops out as a biocarbon or biochar, as it's typically known. We clean up the gas a little bit and then put it into our second stage reformer. Our second stage reformer then works with the raw syngas and any remaining methane and does a full conversion of that into, again, syngas. And from there, we can go into hydrogen or Fischer-Tropsch fuels such as diesel, sustainable aviation fuel, methanol. As you know, Maersk and other major shipping lines are going into methanol. And so it gives us the ability to really take multiple different kinds of waste on the front end and produce multiple different kinds of fuels on the back end. And where Raven is especially good is actually the syngas. We produce a very superior syngas. That's not synthetic fuel. That is the syngas, which is primarily composed of hydrogen and carbon monoxide and is the building block for other fuels. So we can take multiple different wastes, and we consistently are hitting about 60% hydrogen, 30% carbon monoxide, as compared to other technologies. Because we have no air or oxygen in the process, we don't have the NOxes or the SOxes, some of the other pollutants that are typical. And so this is, quite frankly, very unique. The fact that we could process, whether it be plastics or biogenic waste or mix or gas, and we consistently hit this quality of syngas, which is kind of where, you know, our patents and our intellectual property lies in getting to that syngas. And then from the syngas, you know, as I pointed out in the slide previously, we can go into different kinds of fuels. Our patents cover the entire process. The stage 1 and stage 2 have particular chemistry that's going on the inside, but stage 3 could really be any third-party available technology that's out there. This is about what one of our systems will look like. This system is going to process 70 wet tons of green waste. It's in California. It produces about 4,500 kilos of transportation-grade hydrogen. It takes up about 6,000 square meters. And as you can see in the drawing, most of it is actually taken up by the trucks, taking the hydrogen out or else bringing the waste in. But the system itself is meant to be compartmentalized and modular, fit into small spaces. Because we're non-combustion, we can actually get closer to urban areas. We've been working with the California Air Resource Board, and we have very good qualities so that, you know, as a neighbor, we won't be causing too many problems for neighborhoods in the area. The system can go much larger. Our first stage reformer can go up to 300, 400 tons. So this is just a 70-ton system producing about 4,500 or 5,000 kilos of hydrogen, but we can go larger. The technology, as I mentioned at the beginning, has been around since the 1990s. We have successfully worked with multiple different kind of feedstocks. And again, we can convert different kind of a mix of feedstocks as wet as well. And that's generally how it arrives in a landfill, or most of our waste is wet. So we do not dry it prior to, we actually process it wet. And we've been involved in the decommissioning of 2 nuclear power reactors. We've run medical waste. So the opportunity of different kind of wastes obviously is significant, which, going back to my previous slide, it's a major problem. Waste is all around us, and at the same time, we want clean fuels. As I point out here, we are not typical gasification. This is not combustion. There is no oxygen. There is therefore no carcinogens, no dioxins, no particulate matters. We actually are producing more fuel per ton of input because we're not combusting it. So it operates at a lower cost, and we also don't use catalysts, but people have questions afterwards. We can discuss that. We are designing the system to be self-powered and autonomous and independent of the grid, recognizing that electricity is a major problem around the world as well. We can produce our own electricity. So we can, with one garbage truck of waste, we can actually produce enough hydrogen for 15 heavy duty hydrogen vehicles and provide our own electricity. Or if there is electricity, like renewable electricity, solar power, or another wonderful source nearby, one truck actually can produce enough fuel for 30 hydrogen trucks. So as a process, we like to say we're greener. Raven SR, we really don't like talking about the colors of hydrogen. We like to look at the carbon pathway, the carbon intensity. We actually use less electricity per kilogram than other methods. We also use no clean water. We are already processing the waste wet, so we're not adding water or using what I think is a precious resource in water. We have fewer emissions, and we also help avoid emissions. So by diverting landfill waste, especially organic waste from the landfills, we're actually avoiding additional CO2 emissions that would come off of that waste from the landfill. And then we're diverting waste. So we actually extend the life of a landfill. By processing that waste, we can actually, rather than extending the use of land and getting additional permits, we can actually become, if you will, a bottomless pit that the waste goes in and hydrogen comes out. We like to touch on this really always briefly. The popular definition of green hydrogen is often electrolysis, where you're taking electricity and breaking up the water molecule. But we like to point out that water is a precious resource, especially in certain parts of the world. They have problems of plastic and waste everywhere, but water is not. So we actually, as you can see by electrolysis, use less electricity, and we're also diverting organic waste as well as sequestering carbon, which electrolysis does not. Electrolysis is really good at producing electricity, and we'd love to tap into that and use that electricity. In fact, 60 kilowatts would make twice as much hydrogen. This is where I'd like to spend just another moment. I think when we talk about decarbonization, the economy, decarbonizing the environment through hydrogen, this is an important slide, and it's probably not as clear as you can see. But if you can see it, by processing 70 wet tons of waste, we are actually avoiding nearly 1,800 metric tons of CO2 equivalent a year from what would have been in the landfills, which is a major source of greenhouse gases, not to mention the fact that we are also providing and producing clean fuels that reduces emissions on the truck side as well. So we think it's very important that as we look at the hydrogen economy, not only are we producing better fuels with fewer emissions, that have a lot more ability for electric vehicles and hydrogen vehicles, a system like Raven or other projects where we're actually taking the waste we're solving two problems at once. Not only are we producing clean fuels, but we're cleaning up at the same time. And so for cities and urban economies where you have a lot of waste, plastic or biogenic, wood, cardboard, that can be converted in a really fast and clean way into clean fuels. And again, Raven, for example, can go to sustainable aviation fuel and methanol as well. Raven's technology actually produces a negative carbon intensity. So our fuel is actually a lower carbon intensity than even electrolysis and other fuels. And right now, just as a brief kind of introduction, which is wonderful that we have this opportunity, again, is that, Raven has just created a Spanish corporation. We are going to be working with the Aragon region and the Aragon government. We are in discussions already with several of the other regions in Europe. Would love to have further conversations, but we are looking at deploying our systems in Europe in 2023, actually getting and working and building. We have several systems that are going into California and different parts of North America this year, but we are looking at getting going in Europe the following year. So we have a lot of really good partners in Raven. We have a major Japanese trading house. We have a major American oil and gas company, as well as Hyzon. I always like to point out Hyzon Motors because it's a great partnership that we have with them that can produce the zero emission Class 8, Class 6 trucks. And we have a really good partnership with them where they will actually help invest in projects if we can get fleets nearby. So for example, in Spain, there is a lot of heavy truck usage. And so this is a really wonderful partnership where not only can we take waste, convert it into clean fuel, but then also through our partners provide some fleets that are important. I really don't want to take up too much time because I know there's other presentations. But I just want to thank you very much for this opportunity to share with you. And obviously, if people would like to follow up with us, we'd enjoy it. So thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Matthew. This very nice opportunity, and it was really amazing. We would like to express all our gratitude for the fact that such early in the morning, we had, how can I say, also this way of trying to match with the times, and Carmen did a lot how to arrange in such a way to be not that difficult for you. Thank you, Carmen, for organizing everything.
My pleasure.
Yes, yeah. So this is an amazing opportunity. This is the kind of cooperative activities that have to go further from now on in order to address the sustainable development goals. Carmen, could you try now again to share the screen and find out if it is possible to make again this presentation?
Yeah, let's go for it. Can you see it now?
Not yet.
Now?
Not yet.
Let me check again.
So is this green button share screen down? You have to push
Yeah. I press it in fact, but I don't know
you
why.
have to have the application already open, the one with the presentation. And
I'm afraid no. It could be because I don't have something with the Zoom installed or something. So I do apologize, Erdem, about this. So I send you my presentation. Would you mind, please, to
yes,
try to share yourself?
Yes, I'll check immediately to find out.
Because I pressed the button, I went to the presentation, everything, but I'm afraid it might be because.
Yeah.
Sorry to trouble you and the audience, of course.
No, but yeah, it's not yet in my inbox. That's the point. But maybe you could summarize, meanwhile, the ideas that you wanted to point on.
Yeah, let me check it if I can send it to you quickly, because otherwise, if not, I just go through the main issues and that's it, as you said. Okay, I just sent it.
Yeah.
Sorry about that again.
Yeah, it's here.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, so now we are sharing from here and you will present it. That's it.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Thank you very much, Erdem. So yes, please go next because we are running late. Yeah, sorry, stop. So basically, I'm going to give a small or slight briefing to the audience and the partners joining us today about what exactly we are doing together. We have started as a consortium, and from the Aragon government, we are joining with the Raven SR Iberia project, in fact. And we are aiming, in fact, to get funding from the Interregional Innovation Investment, so-called I3, which is European Regional Developing Fund. It's coming from the European Regional Developing Fund. And the program is going to last until 2027, which is the most exciting thing, because it's not just this year, it's not a call for short term, it's a call for this decade, and it's very likely that will continue through until 2030 and onwards until 2050. So please, next slide. What is exactly this interregional innovation investment, the I3 so-called? Well, the interesting thing about the European Commission is the new approach, in fact, to projects and to basically tackle the new challenges that are happening in Europe in terms of more competitiveness globally, Brexit that just happened with the UK. So the aiming of the European Commission is precisely that, to joint efforts to promote and force regions to interact and build an ecosystem together of innovative projects, precisely within the hydrogen community. So as I was pointing out, there are three main axes or areas for the European Commission that are key, which are internationalization of innovation. The second one is building on the experience of the regions and the experience of the SMEs within these regions. And the third one is promoting innovation and cohesion. Indeed, the cohesion is key. Cohesion between regions, building new ecosystems from SMEs that will scale up. So how do you get connected, globalized, and circular economies? So basically, the European Union is pushing the regions to innovate and tackle the challenges within the much more competitive markets that we have, and with the European being in the middle of two main blocks, also China and the United States. China indeed rising very strongly in terms of technology. Next slide, please. So what is the strategy of the European Commission? Indeed, innovation, but through cohesion. So a smart specialization through the deployment and the possibility to deploy projects and demonstrators, basically, within the inter-regional collaboration. And what are the objectives? The objectives are to scale up, to build these demonstrators inter-regionally, and then scale up these demonstrators between the regions taking part in the different consortiums, in our case, precisely with the hydrogen to market pilot action. Indeed, commercialize is not for everybody, I'm afraid. It has to be, or the target of the European Commission is to build up on demonstrators and projects that are mature. Why? Because the investments on these particular in basically initiatives or projects will be more effective in terms of scaling up more effectively and achieving the decarbonization targets that are pretty much ambitious. Mobilize investments across regions and prioritize areas. Indeed, there are some regions that are prioritized, and the European Commission wants a joint effort between more developed regions with more projects, mature projects, working with other regions that might not be that developed, but might have some research and innovation institutions, SMEs and indeed some ecosystem that could be growing up very fast with the push and the help from other regions, coming from other regions. And as I said, mature joint innovation projects. Next slide, please. So indeed, in the consortium that we are now, very nicely with Romania, we are 11, in fact, European regions cooperating that are part of this consortium. This is the list of them: Constanța, Western Macedonia, Upper Austria, Aragon, of course, Northern Netherlands, Košice, Sicily, Castile y León, Medio Tejo in Portugal, Asturias, Rhône-Alpes in France. And we are trying to fit very much what the European Commission wants, which is definition of tags, precise tags that are going to be built in demonstrators, projects that are demonstrators, milestones to be achieved within this call, deliverables, precisely deliverables that are going to be also reached, how much investment every one of the regions are going to go through with their SMEs and with the projects in hydrogen involved in this call, and of course very much aiming for cross-regional collaboration as much as possible between us. So the characteristics are indeed SMEs, mature projects, cross-regional cooperation, and innovation, boosting innovation. Next one, please. So why the hydrogen to market pilot action has been key for Raven SR, and Matt can tell also, because we are working very hard indeed with the consortium together. So basically, first of all, in our case, definitely enabling transatlantic joint developments and partnerships in the European Union, scaling up very effectively. I mean, indeed, I mean, from being just a project developed in one region to really being able to reach a lot of different regions very fast, and a rising interest from regions like Romania or other regions in Slovakia and so forth. Identification of equipment suppliers within the consortium of regions. This is key for us too, because indeed hydrogen technologies are new, and finding also and being able to transform actual suppliers from perhaps other sectors that could transform themselves into more sophisticated technologies, and being able to be suppliers of the new generation of technology, and being suppliers of hydrogen projects. So indeed, for Raven SR, we are seeking within the consortium and the different regions taking part, suppliers that could be able to help us basically to build the sites, the hydrogen sites in the hydrogen valleys. And obviously the expert guidance that we got from the basically consultancy appointed by the European Commission to help us coordinate between ourselves, and advocacy, a great opportunity indeed to raise terms linked to legislation, environmental licenses, and that are very much needed, and so forth. And do not forget meeting up, and again, the cohesion, that is one of the main objectives of the European Commission. Next slide, please. So for us, the partnerships identified within the hydrogen to market has been very wide. I mean, within the consortium, but also outside the consortium. That's a very exciting and thrilling fact, as a great platform. Within the European hydrogen valleys, also identifying waste management key European companies that could be also partners. European cluster of mobility solutions, Alentejo Europe, for instance, and other clusters within the hydrogen community. And indeed, the future opportunities. It's not just this call for now that we are going to apply in the consortium in the 1st of February. It's going to be a next call just this year in October. But the program, as I said, is going to last until 2027, which means there will be many opportunities for us to build up on this consortium, make it stronger and bigger, and present ourselves and apply for future calls together. Indeed, just to highlight the importance, the cross-regional innovative investment has highlighted that 70% of the grants will be allocated into investment projects and investments coming from companies. Next slide, please. Hydrogen and foreign direct investment, I think, is paramount, and it is very important. I'm talking now as a former director of investment, of foreign investment at the government of Aragon, that foreign investment is paramount, and it's very important nowadays with the pandemics and the impact on the economy, that we reinforce and support all the foreign investment coming to Europe, and even investments coming from region to region. And this has to be done definitely with the support of the governments. I mean, national governments, but also regional governments. So I'm very, very grateful indeed for Javier Navarro, the General Director of Industry, to join us, for the government of Romania, and for Erdem, I mean, and your team, to put this together, because indeed the support of the governments are vital, as I said, to provide the necessary ecosystem and support for the development of the projects, and also find the right skills, sustainability, and all the basically key areas that are needed for developing a successful project. So just to conclude, I would say that this is a joint effort, definitely a joint effort from the government, companies like Raven are interested in scaling up, and the stakeholders that will help to speed up the actual implementation of foreign direct investment in European regions. Thank you so much. And please, the floor is yours, Erdem.
Thank you. Excellent presentation, a very nice synthesis of the activities that are now in, let's say, very, very speedy way, because the deadline of the project submission is quite close, and this is a very intensive period. So thank you for all your work, because you've been one of the, let's say, engines of putting all this together and being also involved in this activity. So now, because I wanted also to involve the attendees, among the attendees, we have, as I mentioned, our partners from some of the companies in Constanța, like the district heating company in Constanța that is part of this partnership, but also colleagues from different other regions. So they have the possibility to put their questions at Q&A and also on chat. And on our side, I think now it is time for conclusions. So allow me to introduce Mr. Delisle, Joel Delisle. He is the representative of Eco Hornets in Canada, actually in Montreal. So now we are moving to Joel, but Joel is now in the building of this pavilion, is together with me here in Romanian pavilion in Dubai, so not in Canada. So Joel, please, if you'd like to, let's say, come up with some conclusions. You have seen the developments on behalf of Raven, and also the partnership with the region of Aragon. On the other side, you are very familiar with the developments of Eco Hornets technology and the projects that you are also developing in Canada, but also overseas. So from that perspective, how you would conclude in a very synthetic way how this can be developed further? Please take this microphone meanwhile. Please. Yeah, but you have to open in this case. Puteți să-i dați un microfon? Just 1 second, you will have a microphone just for you. Especially one for you.
Hi. Does anyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, now. Okay, hi everybody again. Yeah, as a conclusion, actually, for Matthew, I know your technology. I'm quite aware of that technology because I've been promoting such a project, another one, for 8 years. And I'm very glad how far actually you're with your technology. I've been working for EcoNet. Actually, we have a mandate to promote and sell the equipment all in America, and happened that we expand, or we have prospect client everywhere in the world. I can name a few countries already, and it came out that most of them wants electricity. And out of the waste, if you take all the waste, you can justify not constructing any nuclear power or even a new dam, because there's plenty of energy in it. And what we came out with Mr. Net is actually to build a solution to convert waste into electricity, 1 to 36 megawatt project. And of course, in that case, since we're talking about the hydrogens, we can use the excess of electricity to make hydrogens. So as a conclusion, sorry, it's a very, actually, I'm impressed by the opportunity also for the, what Madame Carmen just did, for the opportunity to actually, through the word, that facilitate these huge projects, because it's always a matter of investments, always a matter of being known. And this is probably the most difficulty that we have in my case, or anyone else.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Joel, and thank you for making it also in a condensed way. I'm sure that we can extend it by different other, let's say, opportunities. But now I would like to invite Mr. Guillermo. It's easier. So, Guillermo, from your point of view, based on your experience and of course your involvement in all these activities, what is your conclusion?
Yep. Hello, everybody. Just a brief introduction of who am I. I am a business development manager at Aragon Hydrogen Foundation. I think that we have heard Mr. Navarro previously really supporting the work that we are developing at our entity. Well, the conclusion could be that we are living an extraordinary moment in terms of hydrogen hype and interest, and it is finally being materialized by new financing programs coming not only from the European Commission, but from the different national plans. We are living this on our own brains here in Spain nowadays, but this is going to be also translated to other countries such as Romania, for sure. And obviously, international collaboration is a must here, because the technologies are still not well developed and not still in the market. We need to create this mass scale market, and for that issue, internationalization of the projects are a must. And obviously, days and meetings as the one that you have held today are really important to create these synergies between new entities. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Guillermo. So actually, I think we shall continue this, let's say, contacts. Mrs. Font could help us in this process, because it is very important that between the group in Romania and your association, we could have also a memorandum of understanding for let's say, collaborating and for developing jointly projects, both for European funds, but also, as you mentioned, also for other different funding opportunities. And I hope that this will be also agreed by Mr. Navarro. Maybe you could also pass him one of these, let's say, very kind requests on our behalf to continue this, and together with Mrs. Font to initiate this signature of a memorandum of an understanding. Now, coming to Matthew, I would like to tell you a very nice story that we had in Romania. So maybe you heard that in 1995, in Renault Group, the corporation Renault, they named a group of people to start looking for the prospective evolution of the market. And this group came up with the conclusion. They said, look, the car market, it will be stagnated in the, let's say, Western and generally developed countries, but there is a huge market in the developing countries where it might be developed a concept of a car that could be accessible at certain standards. And this was the so-called project of 5,000 euro car. That started in 1995, and in order to implement this project, Renault took over a company in Romania that is called Dacia, and made Dacia a global brand. Together with Renault, you have now at present different, let's say, already landmarks like Duster and so on that are very well, Logan also are very well known cars. So from that perspective, I think in mirror, we could say that now we can see that globally there is a very important market. Of course, the developed countries is a very important target for hydrogen because this is an expensive technology that could be afforded. And on the other side, in developed countries, we have also very polluted and citizens that are very sensitive to polluted air surroundings. And hydrogen might be a very important, let's say, factor for fighting against pollution, but also building resilience. So there is such an opportunity. Of course, a crucial element is also for the market uptake is the cost. And the advantage in Romania is that the companies like Eco Hornets and other companies, they can develop often a different type of manufactured equipment units at lower costs, let's say. But at the same time, there is a need to, how can I say, match, like in a puzzle, solutions that could be developed with some components developed there, with some others that can be developed there. You mentioned also the opportunities of integrating different other equipment. So from that perspective, do you think that it might be possible, facilitated by the Font Corporation in Spain, to initiate such a process of evaluating the possibility between, let's say, the group in Romania, the group in Spain, and your group in the US, to identify some elements where we could collaborate together?
Absolutely. You know, I think you bring up an extremely important point because, you know, we have to strengthen the economy in each region. And frankly, each region has a multitude of skills. And from Raven's perspective, you know, we would love to work, you know, in Romania. Frankly, we'd love to have systems all throughout Europe and provide, you know, I think to your point, not only cleaning the air because of clean fuels, but cleaning the soils and cleaning the impacts that come from the emissions there. But yeah, to answer your question, Raven would very much enjoy exploring that. I had the privilege of visiting Mrs. Font in Aragon, which is one of the reasons we actually have established a company there. Super excited to work in that region, and it would make almost most sense to be building and constructing equipment in your region and serving your community as well.
Thank you. Finally, we would like also to point out on the aspects that have been underlined by Madam Consul General of Romania in Dubai. Mrs. Todorovic, you know that she pointed out on the fact that from one side, there is a very good expertise here in building large projects. There are opportunities for funding sources. And of course, on the other side, everybody is looking to have a share in this coming business, to have a stake in the future developments. So from that perspective, we discussed, we had a very nice discussion with Mrs. Todorovic. Next week, we shall initiate the process of contacts, and by the beginning of March, we are also planning to participate to a forum of investment that we would like to prepare. This will be organized by the Romanian consulate, but they all are also collaborating very well with the General Consulate of Spain here and with different other consulates. So we can do a very nice work together. So from that perspective, besides of the excellent work that Carmen is doing now by preparing this, actually the end of the next week, it will be the submission of this proposal that was presented. Of course, then it will start also the preparation for the call in October, which is, let's say, continuation of this one. But in parallel, we can think also to the possibility of submitting, let's say, some project proposals for possible investors here in the Middle East. What is your opinion?
Yeah, let's talk. As Carmen said, let's meet up. So
yes, thank you. So Carmen, please, you have the microphone.
Well, it's as I said, it's an honor, has been an honor for us to be part of it. Thank you so much indeed for all your efforts and vision, Erdem, and Met Green also, of course, the consulate general and so forth to support Expo Dubai and the Pavilion of Romania to allow this amazing event. And I do believe that this is the beginning. As you said, this is just the beginning. We are together within the consortium, but it's just that one action. We could do many other things in parallel to reinforce, in fact, these joint efforts and basically with the aiming of deploying actual hydrogen projects in Romania, in Spain, but interregionally, basically. So we need to work together very hard. And it's exciting and thrilling times ahead. So thank you again so much, Erdem, for your participation and all your coordination.
Thank you. So if Guillermo, if you want to say a few words at the closure, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I think this has been more or less the first contact with Romanian entities, so really eager to see what is moving there and to collaborate from not only our region, Aragon, we have mentioned it many times today, but from our stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So once again, thank you all. Thank you for being together with us. So starting from the United States with Matthew, then in Spain, in Zaragoza and the surroundings, but also we've been together with our friends in Brussels. We've been together with the colleagues in Romania, but also from Bulgaria and the other countries from the region. It is a very good privilege to be here in Dubai today and to be hosted by the Romanian pavilion here. We are very grateful to them. We shall have also tomorrow some meetings and discussions, but in principle, it was a fantastic week. We shall not forget that. And on top of the cake, this was actually the jewel that made this week excellent. Thank you very much for all your contribution, and let's start continuing our partnership. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you so much.
We'll be in touch. Bye.
Yes.